Chapter 3 The Ritual Unfolds. The full moon cast its pale light over the small village of Odi, illuminating the narrow dirt paths and modest homes. Inside one of these homes, Baba Olumide paced back and forth, his mind a whirlwind of fear and determination. It had been months since he made the fateful decision to seek wealth at any cost, and now the consequences of that decision loomed large. The wealth had come, as the witch doctor had promised. Baba Olumide's newfound riches had transformed his life and elevated his family's status. But the cost had been steep. First, his beloved wife, Mama Adebayo, had fallen mysteriously ill and passed away. Her death had sent shockwaves through the family and the community, raising questions and suspicions. And now, the witch doctor demanded another sacrifice, his only remaining child, Temi. Temi, oblivious to the dark pact that hung over her head, sat in her room, humming a song her mother used to sing. She wore a bright Ankara dress, the colorful patterns a stark contrast to the somber mood that filled the house. Her hair was braided neatly, adorned with small beads that clicked softly as she moved. Despite the wealth that surrounded her, Temi longed for the days when her family was whole and happy, when they were poor but content. Baba Olumide's thoughts were interrupted by a knock at the door. He opened it to find the witch doctor standing there, shrouded in a dark cloak. The witch doctor's eyes gleamed with an eerie light, and a sinister smile played on his lips. "Is it time?" Baba Olumide asked, his voice trembling. "Yes," the witch doctor replied. "The moon is full, and the spirits are ready to accept the sacrifice." Baba Olumide's heart pounded in his chest. He had agreed to this, but now, faced with the reality of sacrificing his daughter, he felt a wave of nausea. He couldn't back out now. The witch doctor had made it clear that either Temi would die, or he would. Baba Olumide was trapped in a nightmarish dilemma. The witch doctor entered the house, his presence filling the room with a chilling air. He glanced around, his eyes landing on Temi, who looked up curiously. "Who is this, father?" Temi asked, sensing the tension. "This is an old friend," Baba Olumide said, forcing a smile. "He's here to help us." Temi nodded, trusting her father's words, though a knot of unease formed in her stomach. The witch doctor approached her, his gaze piercing. "Come with us, child," he said softly. "We must perform a ritual to ensure your family's continued prosperity." Temi hesitated, glancing at her father. Baba Olumide nodded, and she reluctantly followed the witch doctor outside. They walked in silence through the village, heading towards the forest that bordered Odi. The trees cast long shadows in the moonlight, creating an eerie atmosphere. As they walked, Baba Olumide's mind raced. He thought about Adunni, his firstborn, whose spirit had intervened before. He wondered if she would come again to protect her sister. He prayed silently, hoping for a miracle. They reached a clearing in the forest, where a large stone altar stood. The witch doctor began to prepare the ritual, chanting in a language Baba Olumide did not understand. He drew symbols on the ground with white chalk and placed various objects on the altar, animal bones, herbs, and a bowl of dark liquid. Temi stood by her father, clutching his hand tightly. The air was thick with tension and fear. The witch doctor completed his preparations and turned to them, his eyes glowing with malevolent intent. "It is time," he said. "Temi, step forward." Baba Olumide's grip tightened on his daughter's hand. He could feel her trembling, and his heart ached with guilt and fear. He had brought them to this point, and now he had to see it through. He released Temi's hand, and she took a hesitant step towards the altar. Suddenly, the air grew colder, and a strong wind blew through the clearing. The witch doctor's chanting faltered as a faint, ethereal light appeared beside Temi. Baba Olumide's breath caught in his throat as he saw the ghostly figure of Adunni, her presence radiant and serene. "Leave my sister alone," Adunni's spirit said, her voice echoing with otherworldly power. The witch doctor snarled, his face contorted with anger. "You cannot interfere. The sacrifice must be made." Adunni's spirit stood firm. "I will not let you harm her. She is under my protection." Baba Olumide watched in awe and fear as the two forces clashed. The witch doctor raised his hands, summoning dark energy to dispel the spirit. But Adunni's light only grew stronger, pushing back the darkness. "Father, help me," Temi cried, her voice breaking through the chaos. Baba Olumide felt a surge of courage. He couldn't let this happen. He stepped forward, placing himself between Temi and the witch doctor. "I made a mistake," he said, his voice shaking but determined. "I will not sacrifice my daughter." The witch doctor glared at him, his eyes burning with fury. "Then you will pay with your life." Before the witch doctor could act, Adunni's spirit enveloped Baba Olumide and Temi in a protective light. The witch doctor's dark energy clashed with the light, creating a blinding flash. Baba Olumide felt a force lift him off his feet and throw him to the ground. He struggled to get up, his vision blurry. When the light faded, the witch doctor was gone, leaving only a smoldering mark where he had stood. Baba Olumide crawled to Temi, who was lying on the ground, unconscious but unharmed. He cradled her in his arms, tears streaming down his face. "Thank you, Adunni," he whispered, his heart filled with gratitude and sorrow. Adunni's spirit hovered above them, her expression gentle and loving. "Take care of each other, Father. Remember, true wealth lies in the love and bond of family." With those final words, Adunni's spirit faded, leaving Baba Olumide and Temi alone in the clearing. Baba Olumide held his daughter tightly, vowing never to let anything come between them again. The walk back to the village was slow and somber. Baba Olumide carried Temi, who slowly regained consciousness. She looked up at her father, confused and frightened. "Father, what happened?" she asked, her voice weak. Baba Olumide kissed her forehead. "We were saved by your sister. She protected us." Temi's eyes filled with tears. "Adunni?" "Yes," Baba Olumide said, his voice choked with emotion. "She will always be with us, watching over us." When they reached home, Baba Olumide laid Temi in her bed and sat beside her, holding her hand until she fell asleep. He looked around the room, now filled with the bittersweet memories of the past and the promise of a future where they would find strength in each other. The wealth that had once seemed so important now felt like a curse. Baba Olumide knew he had to make amends, not only to honor Adunni's memory but to protect the family he had left. He resolved to use his remaining resources to help the community, to build a legacy of kindness and support rather than one of greed and sacrifice. As dawn broke over Odi, Baba Olumide made his way to the village square. He gathered the villagers, who had been worried and suspicious about his sudden wealth and the tragedies that followed. He stood before them, humbled and repentant. "I have made grave mistakes," he began, his voice steady. "I sought wealth at any cost and paid dearly for it. I lost my wife, and nearly lost my daughter. But in my darkest hour, I realized that true wealth is not measured in gold or possessions, but in the love and unity of our family and community." The villagers listened, their expressions softening with understanding and forgiveness. Baba Olumide continued, "I will use what remains of my wealth to help this village, to support those in need, and to honor the memory of my beloved Adunni and Mama Adebayo. Together, we can build a better future." The story of the Olumide family continued, marked by courage, sacrifice, and the enduring power of love.